curbside justice, it doesn't work. You will lose every time. And that's my personal experience, because every time somebody wanted to do courtside justice with B. Tatum, they lost miserably. And at some point, the cop had to soften him up a little bit, hit him in this area right here to end up getting control while he wait for his backup. You ask me, I have no problem with that.
You ask me, I have no problem with that. They lost miserably.
But here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
So here's the deal.
And here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal. Because here's the deal.
Here's the deal. Either give me your ID or you go to jail. How about that?
Catch me outside. How about that?
How about that?
How about that?
Here's the deal.
In pursuit of a Mazda heading south on 3 Points Road.
Here's the deal.
All right, many have requested that I substantiate my claim that Brandon Tatum approves of an adult forcing a little kid to the ground, getting on top of him and straddling him, while that same adult proceeds to use his fist to physically harm the boy's body. He believes it's the right thing to do because the abuser is wearing a uniform and a badge. So people have asked me also why I call him Brandon Soften Him Up Tatum. And this comes from the video he published on April 29th, 2020, entitled The Truth Comes Out. I'll leave a link in the description so you can see the entire context. I'm just going to break in here for a second. The video you're watching right now was uploaded to my other channel, Grease Monkey Videos, on April 9th, 2022. I originally titled my video exposing Brandon Tatum, Just Sickening. Since I'm in the process of migrating all my police activity videos over to this channel, it'll no longer be available on my other channel. And since the recording of this video, Brandon Tatum has deleted his original video. When you enter the URL, you get this message. This video isn't available anymore. Now, this is interesting because he was getting a lot of criticism after I pointed out that he was endorsing the abuse of kids. So he's either seen the light and has amended his ways, which is highly doubtful, or he did what cops always like to do, hide the facts. Knowing the psychopathic police officer mentality, the latter reason is probably the correct one. One thing's for sure, he definitely doesn't want you to see this video right here. So I'm glad I was able to screen capture it when I could. Now, I'm going to let the whole thing play and then I'll comment at the end. First, we'll hear Tatum's endorsement of the abuse on a minor, then his justification for continuing to believe that he holds the right view and that such actions should be supported, applauded, and promoted. Again, because the abuser is a cop who's trying to take control of the situation.
So I know a lot of you guys have seen the video circulating around of the police officer on top of what I thought was a little girl, but I guess it was a little 14-year-old boy. Couple strikes, looked like a tussle's going on. People are outraged. So everybody's mad, they're outraged. When I saw the video initially, I was like, oh man, hold on. But then I realized that he wasn't even hitting him in the face, he was hitting him in the chest. So then I realized, well, the officer is showing some type of restraint. How did all this start? The cop caught him doing a hand-to-hand transaction. Now to the cop, it appeared that it was well, first of all, it's illegal anyway. It ended up being tobacco, not marijuana. But it appeared possibly, potentially, based on what the police observed, that this kid was doing a transaction with marijuana. And at some point, the cop had to soften him up a little bit, hit him in this area right here to end up getting control while he wait for his backup. You ask me, I have no problem with that.
You ask me, I have no problem with that.
But I want you to hear what the young boy said. I want you to hear how they reported on the news because I think they did a fair job. Roll the film.
Elijah says trouble began after he asked a stranger to purchase some tobacco for him. After getting it in his hands,
that's when the cop pulled up and he asked me what was that in my hand, and I had gave him. As soon as he asked me that, I just gave it to him. Look,
why is your 14-year-old buying cigarettes or tobacco? He's 14. He's not even 16. He's not even 17. He's not even 18. And he's buying tobacco from people. You should be more concerned at what your child is doing when you ain't around than him getting in trouble. Because if you was doing what you're supposed to be doing, or you critiqued what he's doing or kept an eye on what he's doing, held him accountable, which I think that they probably are at this point, then You don't have to worry about him getting in a confrontation with police. Do what's right the first time, and you don't have to worry about resisting arrest and all the stuff that comes with it. Thank God this officer was striking him in the chest and wasn't getting him in the face. Because I tell y'all this, it really doesn't matter what the officer do. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. And if you done lost your life and the officer is, I don't know, guilty or not guilty, prosecuted or not, your life's still gone. Is it worth it? Curbside justice, it doesn't work. You will lose every time. And that's my personal experience, because every time somebody wanted to do courtside justice with B. Tatum, they lost miserably.
They lost miserably.
Now, let's ask an obvious question here. Let's take away the uniform, utility belt, the badge, and any sign of a police car. What if you were driving down the road and you saw a man straddling a little kid and pounding him in the chest? Would you just go about your business? Would you call 911? Would you attempt to intervene? No matter what you would do, is it fair to say that at the very least, such a scene absolutely would not sit well with you, and that everything about this, with very few, if any, justifiable exceptions, could make it right? I'd go so far as to say, even if the guy pounding on the child's chest was the child's father, that still wouldn't make it right. And let's take this to a crazy extreme to highlight the point. Even if this kid committed murder, which he didn't, far from it, you mean to tell me that a man more than twice his size can restrain this kid and bring him under control so that he can bring him to justice? And yet, Brandon Tatum says that he has no problem with the soften him up approach that this officer is initiating. And it's irrelevant that the kid apologized. It's irrelevant that the kid was doing something that state functionaries would consider illegal. Is Brandon Tatum saying that when people do illegal things, brutality is justified in bringing a non-compliant person under control? Rosa Parks was doing something illegal when she took a seat at the front of the bus, and she was non-compliant. Would he be okay with softening her up? Harriet Tubman was doing something illegal when she went around freeing slaves. She refused to comply with the law. Should she have been softened up? This crazy idea that illegality equals immorality, and therefore force and violence are justifiable to bring a person under control, is literally a psychopathic thought process. To add even more sand to the scales that tip in an overwhelmingly unbalanced way against Brandon Tatum, from his own mouth, he admits that initially, even he, when he first saw the video, thought what was going on at least gave him pause, like it was wrong or something, because everybody knows it is wrong. But then he says he was fine with it because the cop wasn't hitting him in the face, he was hitting him in the chest.
So everybody's mad. They're outraged. When I saw the video, initially I was like, oh man, hold on. But then I realized that he wasn't even hitting him in the face. He was hitting him in the chest.
Somehow the fact that the pain was being inflicted on another part of this little kid's body instead of his face made it okay with Brandon Tatum. Never mind the fact that if you hit somebody in the chest hard enough, you could end their life, especially if it's a big fist striking a tiny rib cage. But even this is irrelevant. The fact is that child abuse, no matter who the abuser is wrong. But that's not the way Tatum sees it. So in Tatum's eyes, if you break the law of the state, and by the way, every founder of this country lived their lives as non-compliant lawbreakers, if you break the laws of the state, even if you're a kid, Brandon has no problem with the violence of the state coming down on your head or the head of your kid. Proper, controlled, loving discipline is the parent's job. No matter what this backwards world tries to tell you about the definition of crime, you haven't committed a crime unless you've victimized somebody. And by victimized, I mean you've stolen from somebody, you've damaged their property without paying for it, you've threatened somebody, or you hurt them. If you haven't left a victim, you haven't committed a crime. It sounds like this kid not only didn't commit a crime, he was involved in a peaceful, voluntary, mutually consensual business transaction. Somebody had tobacco, He had the money, the exchange was made peacefully, and in order following just doing my job, I don't make the laws, I just enforce them, violent jughead shoved his nose into something that was none of his business, while real crime takes place in his city. So what do you call it when an adult straddles a kid and starts punching his body into the dirt? Is it okay as long as the adult is wearing a state-approved costume? Would it be okay if a parent treated a kid this way? Do you agree with Brandon Tatum? These are important questions that have to be answered because it really reveals a psychopathic mindset that makes society sick. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. I'll see you guys in the next video.
The cop had to soften him up a little bit, hit him in this area right here, to end up getting control while he wait for his backup. You ask me, I have no problem with that.
Subscribe for more tyranny-busting content.